somebody pulled a gun on a group of people. I was like, you're not trained. These are the January 6 people who are pardoned. We are under siege right now in a way that only maybe people who survived Nazi Germany could understand. Like these are those times.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We will survive.
Would be remiss if I did not start off talking about the disaster that is happening in Los Angeles, California, in these United States right now, as I was watching over the weekend and corresponding with friends of mine who are real journalists, and, you know, like Ali Velshi, who was standing, you know, on MSNBC this weekend reporting on what's happening. And I'm concerned about, I've been concerned about the state of our union, but I think we're at a breaking point that is a point of no return, where we have a sitting president who sent the National Guard in to control a situation that the governor and the mayor of Los Angeles said, we don't need the National Guard.
Yeah, they said we got it.
People protest. It's America. People protest. That's one of the rights. I mean, this country was founded on the Tea Party, you know, the Boston Tea Party, and protestation. You know, they were protesting, you know, taxation without representation. And they were in the streets, and Crispus Attucks was the first to die. You know, we learned these history lessons in school, and yet we're seeing them play out quite differently in real life, real time. Have you been paying attention to the
I have. I've been talking to friends in LA, you know, because it's funny watching, you know, like firsthand media that you're seeing from people who are there, and then versus, you know, how, you know, CNN or, you know, whoever will cover things. And I was noticing quite a disparity at first. And then, you know, it's interesting to see this play out. I think, like you said, we're reaching a breaking point. I think people are sick of it. People are scared for their neighbors. People are scared for themselves. I feel hopeful always. You know, I feel hopeful always. I'm worried always. I'm hopeful and worried
at the same time. Yeah, two things can be true. Ali said something to me to the effect that this is where it all comes apart, and I was like, it's been apart. You know, maybe this is where we realize, and we're going to talk more in the show about the importance of voting. I voted this weekend. Early voting in New Jersey ended yesterday. On my way to walk at the park, I was like, let me go vote. So I did that. And there was no line. And that both concerned me. It was a whole lot of black people. So I was like, okay, hey, black people, what's up? What's up? Well, I also live among black people, so I expect to see black people where I vote. But, you know, it's an interesting place where, you know, we yell into the void about all of the things we'd like to see happen. But the way in which this happens is not in the street. So this morning on Urban View Mornings, Malcolm Nance was with Shauna Renee, and he said he was disappointed in black people not protesting. And I have a problem with what he said. I know he's a decorated military personnel, person. He's written anti-terrorist, counterterrorism expert, blah, blah, blah. These aren't the times for institutional knowledge per se from the way things used to be done. These are waters we haven't been in. And I wasn't around the 1700s either, but I imagine the quote unquote framers had a very specific vision in mind, and this wasn't it either. Mm-hmm. They were leaving tyranny. They didn't want more tyranny. 866-801-8255. I'll give out the number because I disagree. Black people should not be in the streets in mass protesting. And you know why? Because of what we're seeing going on right now in LA. This is what he wants. He wants martial law. He wants to send in the troops. He's talking about sending in the Marines because people, when you press them, as Gavin Newsom was like, we got it under control. Now you're going to make it worse. So now they're throwing scooters. We don't condone, I have to say this, we don't condone violence on any front. However, what is happening is a response to something that should not be happening. National Guard people should not be sent in. American troops should not be sent in to police Americans who have a right to protest peacefully. Then he's going to do an executive order banning masks publicly. So I'm thinking, what
Which
about people with but I'm seeing all of these ICE agents with masks on, and we don't know whether
exactly.
they're real federal agents or not, and
Exactly.
they're not
They're not
identifying
showing
themselves.
identification. Yeah.
Listen, the amount of fat asses that I've seen out there's no way in hell that these are trained professionals. Somebody pulled a gun on a group of people. I was like, you're not trained. These are the January 6th people who are parting. We are under siege right now in a way that only maybe people who survived Nazi Germany could understand. Like these are those times.
Yeah. And I always hesitate to, when people are, whether they're talking about Black folks, especially Black folks, but, like Black folks should be out in the streets, doing this. It's like, well, I'm always hesitant to take that line around anything because people are justifiably very, very scared. Over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen the way sentencing, they pushed for harsher sentencing. People are getting sent to prison, for life, for, the smallest things. And, they've made it so that protesting, you can risk your freedom for the rest of your life. You are risking terrorism charges for being present, for merely standing there. So in a country that sends Black folks to jail for blinking, I am hesitant always to be like, certainly as a white person, I'm not going to be sitting anywhere saying what Black people should or shouldn't be doing. But anybody who's talking about what, people should be in the streets, why aren't people in the streets? I've seen friends who live internationally. I've got a friend in Ireland who is like, why aren't you guys, doing this, this, and this? Why aren't you? And it's like, I see why it's different here than you think.
Olivia, it also tells me that they can't protest without us. It's very clear to me that the organized way in which people were in the streets was centered on Black organization and Black understanding of liberation and Black people mobilizing and Black people having a plan and Black people. So without Black people, y'all looking for bouncy houses and you don't even know how to put your signs together. Y'all disorganized. I was like, what disorganized mess is this? Oh, once again, the gaslighting. You made it out to be that Black people we're so horrible. We don't stick together. Bitch, sorry.
But then it's like, well, where are they? Somebody tell us what to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Part one, number one, y'all can't organize without us. Okay. So we're sitting home. Why? Because 92% of Black women voted against this. Almost 80% of Black men voted against this. The ones that sat out, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. You're equally responsible. But Black people showed up in November. So this is not on us. So to put us at the front of the cannon fodder, to be at the front lines of the terror attack on our bodies, no. We sacrificed enough over the last 400 years, your turn, and it's more of you. So pile it in, go, get to the streets. This is horrible. Which
I am seeing a lot of white people in these streets throwing tear gas and messing up these cop cars. I am seeing it. There was a white man that he was being filmed in LA. Or actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't LA. I want to say it was Pittsburgh. It was a separate ICE protest, but there was people packing the street and he was there and he was furious because ICE had just taken away the people they had come to take, despite civilians showing up and trying to stop them. And he was, shouting at the crowd, and the person filming said, how did you hear about this? Because they're trying to figure out, like, where are these people coming from? Where is this, mobilization coming from? And he just looked at the camera and he said, Reddit. Like Reddit,
Reddit.
Like
okay,
there's a lot of, and apparently a couple white men that I know here in Louisville, he's like, I was getting a tattoo yesterday, and a guy that I was talking to when I left the tattoo shop, he was like, yeah, I look on Reddit every day to see updates in Louisville, to see where ICE is. If ICE is showing up, people post in Reddit, they say, hey, ICE is showing up on Millwood or whatever, and people go. So it's like, I'm seeing a lot of white men on Reddit popping up.
All right. Shout out to them.
Again, this is anecdotal. So,
well, but it also lends me to part two, or the second thing that I was thinking. Okay, so number one, it ain't a protest unless Black people are organizing it. Okay. Number two, is not worthy of reporting and less black people.
And less black
So
people,
when
yeah.
so when black people show up, here comes because if black people were throwing scooters and bricks and things, there would be bullets, not rubber bullets, actual bullets, and there would be death in the street. Like you can't prove me wrong on this because we've seen it, right? There would be death and carnage if we were actually going, because we were peacefully protesting, and here comes Kyle Rittenhouse, not guilty, right? Y'all have a different standard, right? So that's the other thing. We know there's a different standard between black protests. Like last time Donald Trump called for shooting us. When black people were was Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, he said, he went out with the upside down Bible and wanted to clear, and they cleared the street. They did. They were able to clear the street, and he was like, well, let's just shoot them. So that's already telling you, and he's been goading us for the last 120 whatever days to go into the streets so they can do just this. So he couldn't do it because we didn't go. And so now they're manufacturing martial law and all of this with what's happening in LA, but also the media. Y'all were round the clock, round the mother effing clock.
That's what I'm
making
saying.
It worse.
I was like, I was looking at, different like mainstream media, and I'm like, wow, they're really doing that, huh? They're doing this, the playbook. It's the playbook.
So there's that. So I could be 100% wrong. I disagree wildly with Malcolm Nance. I don't think black people should be in the streets for the very reason that you said. The penalty is so much higher. We're not scared. This is not a cowardly move. We should be planning the next. This is not, yes, everything's on the line. We knew that. That's why we showed up in November. So everyone lives somewhere. If this is going to be a local battle, what does that look like? What does a local battle look like? Well, it looks like we got to show up for our local elections. I know that much. And then we have to support and show support for the people who are going to support us and tell them what to do. But yeah, Gavin Newsom says he's going to be suing the Trump administration for deploying the National Guard because he did not ask for them. He said it was illegally acted to federalize the National Guard, and we're suing. This is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. National Guard troops were sent to downtown Los Angeles Sunday, and amid this violent clash between law enforcement and protesters, and the unrest began. And how quickly he sent them in. Now he's talking about the Marines, right? Because this chaos that he really wants is not where it needs to be, because we haven't gotten into the fight like that, but we are fighting. There's different ways to fight, y'all. And I want to ask this question. Those of you who know a little bit of history, were black people protesting at the end of slavery? I'm just, yes, we saw the marches during Jim Crow and the sit-ins and all that. How many months did it take to organize and to plan the freedom rides? And the March on Washington was a culmination march. That was after things had already been in place. That was more like a celebratory, here we are, and then we're not going away. And then King came in, in Memphis, and then that's when it was getting too much, right? But it was a drumbeat from the bus boycott before Montgomery. I think it was in Louisiana, New Orleans before then, and it was just a drumbeat from the 50s to the 60s. It was a drumbeat. It was a 10-year drumbeat. Who's planning now? I'm just curious. I don't know. But action, reaction, is that the way to get something? Like, please explain to me how en masse black people going into the streets are going to change this current situation for the better. And if you can make the salient argument that us going into the streets will change this administration's mind and make them rethink everything that they have planned to do since before Obama,
since Reagan,
since Nixon, please tell me how that's going to impact the future versus actually organizing differently. With a plan to city by city, state by state, take over the state legislatures and win some elections so that we can change the map a little bit. 866-801-8255 is the number.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side. We will not give in, not give up. We will not capitulate. We will not bow. We will not bend. We